Hi everybody, it's Jenn from Creeth. Saturday morning, October 30th, 2021. Nobody watches my football videos, but I'm going to do one today anyway. Because there seems to be a lot of continued movement in the NCAA football ranks. Teams leaving divisions and moving to other divisions. Sometimes leaving division to go independent or vice versa. And sure, moving a team to a new division makes for new opportunities and new rivalries, but it takes away a lot of those old rivalries. Certain teams have stayed in certain divisions for so many years, and they always play the same teams every year, and these are usually the biggest hype games, and they're often the best games. So, why are we seeing so much movement? It's this silly playoff format called the College Football Playoff Committee. I know there's 120 teams in Division I football, and they can't all play each other. So you do the best you can. You find a conference, you find a division, and then you book some out of conference games that you hope will improve your resume. The little schools try to book the big schools, and we get teams moving around and jumping around all the time. So we got this two-tiered system. We got what we call the Power 5 conferences, and we got the Group of 5. And the playoffs in this format have only ever put Power 5 teams in. So if you want to make the playoffs, your best chance of doing it is to start by being in one of these Power 5 conferences. And that's why we're seeing a lot of teams leaving the Group of 5 and moving into the Power 5. So let's take a look at what we got right now. The games today haven't started yet, so as of right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 undefeateds. Going undefeated means you're probably going to win your conference and you're probably going to make the playoffs, especially if you're in a Power 5 school. So right now Georgia is the only undefeated SEC team. So they win out, they win the SEC title. Guess what? They're going to the playoffs. How about Oklahoma? Undefeated Big 12 team. Now the Big 12, we all know Oklahoma and Texas are leaving for the SEC because in years past, the Big 12 has been excluded from the playoffs, even their conference winner. So winning the Big 12 doesn't always get you into the playoffs. In this case, if Oklahoma goes undefeated, 12-0, wins the Big 12 championship game, 13-0, I don't care what any other team does, they're in. And they're number 2. Only Georgia can do better than that, in my opinion. So Oklahoma, you win out, you go 13-0, you're in the playoffs. Number 3, Michigan or Michigan State, the Big 10, another conference that is always ranked. I think they're a bit overrated, but these are good teams. Michigan will play Michigan State. Somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win. The winner is 8-0. The winner has a chance to go undefeated, 12-0. Then they play the Big 10 conference championship game. They win out, go 13-0. Guess what? No matter what happens, they're in the playoffs too. Those are the 3 easiest paths. As we say, control your own destiny, go to the playoffs. Oklahoma, Georgia, Michigan, Michigan State winner today. Win out, you're in. Doesn't matter what else happens. Then it gets a little complicated. ACC, all these years it's been Clemson. Guess what? It's not Clemson this year. The only undefeated left in the ACC right now is Wake Forest. Shh. Little Wake Forest basketball school. They're 7-0 in football. And if they win out, they go 12-0. They play in the ACC championship game and go 13-0. You'd think they'd get in, wouldn't you? Even with Georgia, Oklahoma, Michigan or Michigan State, an undefeated ACC champ, how could you not put them in the playoffs? Well, there's this little problem. It's called Cincinnati. That Group of 5 team. We've seen undefeated Group of 5s left out before, but they're saying this could be Cincinnati's chance. The AAC is a very tough conference. It's probably the toughest Group of 5 conference to win. Go undefeated and win the AAC title. Parlay that with a couple of very impressive out-of-conference scheduled games, including wins over top 10 ranked Notre Dame, their only loss to Cincinnati. And at one point it was a very tough Indiana team. Cincinnati wins out, they have an argument. So what do? Wake and Cincinnati both win out, go 13-0. Only one of them makes the playoffs if those other three teams go undefeated. So we're going to have a conundrum. Do you take Wake or do you take Cincinnati? Let the conspiracy theories begin. Oh boy, goodness. I'd love to see this happen. Because this would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we need more than 4 playoff teams. I'd like to see 6. And I think it's only fair that if you win your conference, you go to the playoffs. Otherwise, who cares if you win your conference? Alabama has not won their conference and still gone to the playoffs in the past. And let's talk about that right now. Well, let's put that on hold. Other undefeateds are going to have a tough time. Southern Methodist, they are 7-0. If they go undefeated, guess what? They're going to have to go through Cincinnati, which means conceivably they could argue that they're better than Wake if they went out. Cincinnati versus SMU, it's going to happen. I'm not sure if it's in the regular season or if it would be a conference championship game. But one of them's going to lose eventually. But one of them may go undefeated. How about San Diego State, 7-0? San Antonio, 8-0. San Diego State, they're in the Mountain West. You win out, you win the Mountain West, you go 13-0. Is that good enough for a playoff spot? Not necessarily. They're going to need help, as is San Antonio. Conference USA, you win out, you go 13-0. Great season, but you're going to need help. You're going to need some of these other undefeateds to lose. Because I tell you right now, a one-loss SEC champ gets in. If it's Georgia, if it's Alabama, could be Ole Miss, could be Kentucky. Is that it? All those teams are one loss, and they could potentially win the SEC. A one-loss SEC champ has a pretty good chance of getting in. Maybe even ahead of an undefeated Cincinnati or an undefeated Wake Forest, let alone an undefeated San Diego State or SMU. What about a one-loss Big Ten team? Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State. The champion could be one of those teams that has a loss. I mean, we don't know. Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, they're all in the same division. So they're going to play a round robin. Whoever wins that division is going to go into the conference championship game as a heavy favorite. It's going to be tough. We haven't even looked at the Pac. No undefeated Pac teams left. Any one-loss Pac teams? Oregon, 6-1. One of their wins is against Ohio State. If they run the table, go 12-1, win the Pac championship, it's hard to argue that they shouldn't be in there too. My, oh my. What about Notre Dame? Independent, no conference championship game, but you go 11-1, your only loss is to Cincinnati. That's a pretty darn good resume as well. My goodness. Who else have we haven't even looked at these teams. 6-1, Pittsburgh, 6-1, Iowa, 6-1, Baylor. There's a lot of other 6-1 teams in the group of 5, but I'm going to count them out. No one-loss group of 5 team has any chance. I'm sorry, boys and girls. And others. See what I'm getting at here? There's no clear path. You could do everything that's asked of you. You could win all your games, and you could still be screwed out of the playoffs. That's why teams want to move. Everyone wants to go to the SEC, because if you win the SEC, you're in the playoffs. Poor Big 12, they're about to lose Oklahoma and Texas. Guess what? They're going to raid the AAC. They're grabbing Cincinnati and a couple others. And so one could argue that the Big 12 will be a little weaker and that the AAC will become weaker, which means you might want to be in the Sun Belt. You might want to stay in the Mountain West. Boise State is usually the Mountain West champ, but not this year. San Diego State, good team. They run the table. They might want to join the Pac-12. Who knows? Is the Pac-12 going to expand? Are they going to lose anyone? You want to get into the playoffs, you have a better chance if you win the Pac than if you win the Mountain West. Or the Sun Belt or the Conference USA. Look at these great teams, one-loss teams that are really good. Lafayette, Louisiana. Coastal Carolina. UTEP. Houston. These are good. Houston's moving, aren't they? Let's not even get into 2-loss teams. There's some 2-loss teams that could win Power 5 championship. Virginia 2-0 or 6-2. NC State 5-2. All these ACC teams. If Wake stumbles, who knows? See what I'm getting at? This is a mess. I don't have all the answers, but maybe we say, you know what? All Power 5 division or conference champs are in. I don't care if you're undefeated or not. Let's put some emphasis on winning your conference. Let's make sure people care about these conference championship games. Win your conference, you're in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. Maybe we have 3 wild cards, including the best group of 5 conference winner. I don't know. If the format's a little easier, we'll see less jumping around, and we're going to see teams. It used to be by region. Now you got teams and conferences that are halfway across the country. These rivalries used to be about geography. You could load up a bus and go to the games. Now you got, let's look at the Big Ten. You got a team as far east as Maryland. You got one as far west as Iowa. That's a long drive. It's hard to have rivalries like that. Anyway, enjoy the games.